My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm 28 years old. Imagine discovering on your 28th birthday that your entire family threw a surprise party for your sister. The Facebook caption read, "Celebrating the only daughter worth honoring." When I innocently commented, "Nice cake," my mother publicly replied, "At least someone deserves our effort." But here's what they didn't know. I'd been sitting on a document that would change everything. A document that proved my perfect doctor sister had been living a lie worth $50 million. Before I tell you how she went from penthouse to powerless in just 12 days, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing we're connected across the world at this very moment. Now, let me take you back to that birthday morning when everything started. I was scrolling through Facebook with my morning coffee, expecting maybe a text or two. What I found instead would set in motion the most painful yet liberating 2 weeks of my life. The notification popped up at 7:23 a.m. Barbara Mitchell added 47 photos to the album. Surprise party for our star. My thumb hovered over it. Mom never posted photos of me. Ever. In her last 100 posts, I appeared exactly twice, both times cropped halfway out of frame at Emily's medical school graduation. I clicked. The first photo hit like ice water. There was my entire family, Mom, Emily, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years, gathered around a 3-tier cake, the kind with fondant roses and gold leaf, the kind that costs more than my monthly car payment. Emily stood in the center, glowing in a designer dress I recognized from Nordstrom's window, the one I'd admired last week before remembering I needed new work shoes instead. The timestamp? Yesterday, March 15th, my actual birthday. I scrolled through each photo methodically. There was Uncle Richard, who hadn't returned my calls in 2 years, Cousin Jennifer, who couldn't make it to my MBA graduation, even Mrs. Chen from next door, who always asked Mom why I couldn't be more like Emily. The comments were already flooding in. She deserves all this and more. Finally, someone worth celebrating. Your real daughter makes you so proud. My coffee had gone cold. I set it down with steady hands and typed, "Nice cake." Within 30 seconds, Mom replied, "At least someone deserves our effort. Maybe if you'd chosen a real career like Emily's, you'd understand what achievement looks like." 17 likes on her comment. In less than a minute, I stared at those words. Real career. As if managing supply chain operations for 3 West Coast facilities was playing pretend. As if my Wharton MBA was a participation trophy. Emily chimed in. "Sarah, don't be bitter. Not everything is about you." 43 likes. I almost laughed. Nothing had ever been about me. Not my childhood piano recitals where Mom left early for Emily's soccer practice. Not my valedictorian speech she missed for Emily's emergency, a bad grade on a quiz. Not even my own birth had been about me. Mom loved telling people how she went into labor during Emily's dance recital 2 years earlier and how she'd insisted on staying until Emily finished her routine. But none of them knew what I knew. None of them had any idea what was coming. Supply chain management? The question had haunted me for a decade. Every family dinner, every holiday gathering, every chance encounter with Mom's friends at Whole Foods. Why didn't you go to medical school like Emily? The truth? I'd gotten into Johns Hopkins, full scholarship. The acceptance letter arrived the same day Emily got waitlisted at a mid-tier state school. I watched Mom's face crumble as she read it. That night, she sat on Emily's bed for 3 hours, promising they'd figure something out, that Emily was meant to be a doctor. I withdrew my acceptance the next morning, told everyone I'd changed my mind, that medicine wasn't for me. Mom never asked why. She was too relieved to question it. Emily got off the wait list 2 weeks later. It was meant to be, Mom said at dinner. Emily has the healing touch. Sarah's more practical. Practical. That's what I became. The practical one who worked 3 jobs through undergrad. The practical one who earned her MBA at night while working full-time. The practical one who nobody noticed had graduated summa cum laude from Wharton because the ceremony conflicted with Emily's white coat ceremony. Sarah handles boxes, Emily would tell people at parties. I save lives. She wasn't wrong. I did handle boxes. Millions of them. My optimization algorithm saved our company $3.2 million last quarter. My vendor negotiations secured PPE for 17 hospitals during the pandemic shortage. But that wasn't a story worth telling at family dinners. The worst part? I'd made peace with it. Or thought I had. Until I saw that cake. That beautiful, expensive cake on my birthday, for my sister, surrounded by my family who'd forgotten I existed. My phone buzzed, another Facebook notification. Mom had tagged Emily in a new post. So blessed to have a daughter who makes us proud every single day. No, I thought. You're blessed to have two daughters. You just only see one. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class still gleamed in Emily's driveway. Mom and Dad's graduation gift to her. A $45,000 investment in her future. The red bow from 3 years ago had long since disappeared, but I remembered it perfectly. Remembered standing in the rain watching them hand her the keys while I clutched my own graduation announcement. The one they'd forgotten to attend. Doctors need reliable transportation, Dad had said, though Emily wouldn't start residency for another year. My graduation gift? A $50 Amazon card and a text saying, "Congrats." I'd bought my own car, a 2012 Honda Civic with 90,000 miles, using savings from the job I'd worked since sophomore year. Mom had wrinkled her nose when she saw it. Well, it's practical, just like you. There it was again, practical. But the favoritism went deeper than gifts. Emily lived rent-free in a downtown penthouse. I'd co-signed the lease because her credit was wrecked from shopping sprees, Mom encouraged. Doctors need to look successful, Mom always said, slipping Emily another credit card. Meanwhile, I'd been paying my own rent since 18. When I'd asked for help during a rough patch after college, just a 3-month loan while starting my job, Mom had sighed. Sarah, you need to learn independence. Emily has medical school stress. What stress do you have? Counting boxes? The irony? Emily hadn't paid a bill in her life. Not the Mercedes payment, Mom handled it. Not her student loans, Dad's investment. Not even her own phone bill, still on the family plan at 26. And now she was supposedly running Grandpa's company, Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, the company he'd built from nothing. The company worth $50 million. The company whose board meetings Emily had never attended, whose financial statements she couldn't read, whose supply chain she called boring logistics stuff, Sarah's department. If only they knew what Sarah's department was about to do. 3 years ago, Grandpa Robert's study, the smell of his pipe tobacco still clinging to leather-bound books. Sarah, come here, shut the door. He was dying. We both knew it, though nobody said the word. The cancer had taken 40 pounds off his frame, but his eyes remained sharp. Engineer's eyes. Eyes that saw through bullshit. Your sister was here yesterday, he said. Spent 10 minutes talking about herself, then asked about the will. I said nothing. Emily's visits always had agendas. Your mother thinks I don't notice things. He pulled out an envelope from his desk drawer, thick, legal-sized. She thinks I don't know about the Hopkins scholarship, about what you gave up. My throat tightened. Nobody knew about Hopkins. I've been watching you, Sarah. The quiet one. The practical one. He said the word like it tasted bitter. You know what's practical? Building a pharmaceutical empire from a garage. That's what I did. And you have my brain. Emily has your mother's mouth. He pressed the envelope into my hands. Promise me something. Don't open this until you need to. You'll know when. Grandpa, promise. I promise. He died 6 days later. Emily gave a beautiful eulogy about inheriting his legacy. I sat in the back row, the envelope burning in my purse. As CEO of Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, I'm proud to announce our new anxiety medication has passed Phase 3 trials. Emily's LinkedIn post had 2,147 likes. The comments flooded in. Congratulations, inspiration, your grandfather would be so proud. She'd changed her profile title the day after Grandpa's funeral. CEO at Mitchell Pharmaceuticals. MD candidate, healthcare visionary. CEO of a $50 million company. At 26, without a business degree, without ever attending a board meeting, without even knowing what Phase 3 trials actually meant. I knew because I'd asked her once, casually, at dinner. "Oh, it's when the drug is basically ready," she'd said, waving her fork. "The science stuff is handled by the team." Phase 3 trials take 4 years minimum. They involve thousands of patients. They cost millions. But sure, Emily, the science stuff. The real kicker? I'd seen the incorporation documents. Emily's signature as CEO, dated 1 week after Grandpa's death. The only problem? Grandpa had been very specific about succession in the original bylaws. The CEO had to be appointed by the board with unanimous consent after reviewing qualifications. There had been no board meeting. I would know. I was supposed to be notified as a minority shareholder. A tiny detail Mom didn't know about. Grandpa had gifted me 2% of shares on my 18th birthday. "For the quiet one," the card had said. But Emily's signature was there, bold and looping, along with Mom's as witness. I pulled up another document on my laptop. A bank statement showing a transfer of $500,000 from Mitchell Pharmaceuticals to EMI Holdings LLC, Emily's personal company, created 3 days after Grandpa's funeral. Embezzlement was such an ugly word, but accurate. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Miss Mitchell? This is James Crawford from Crawford & Associates. I was your grandfather's personal attorney." My pulse quickened. "Mr. Crawford, I believe it's time we discussed your grandfather's actual wishes, the real ones, not the fabrication your sister has been parading around." I looked at the envelope in my desk drawer, still sealed, still waiting. "I'm listening." "Your sister's announcement about the product launch next week? The one with 200 investors? I think that would be the perfect venue for some clarification." The Facebook photos stared at me from my laptop screen, my family celebrating the only daughter worth honoring. "Yes," I said. "I think it would." The text from Emily arrived at midnight. "Need you to re-sign the lease guarantee. Landlord's being a dick about some paperwork." The penthouse. Of course. $8,000 a month for a 2-bedroom overlooking the harbor. When Emily had begged me to co-sign 3 years ago, she'd sworn it was temporary. "Just until my credit improves, 6 months max." That was 36 months ago. I pulled up my banking app. There it was. Every month. The automatic notification that Emily Mitchell's rent had been processed against my guarantee. She'd been late 17 times. Each late payment dinged my credit. Each time I'd covered it to protect my score, and Emily would promise to pay me back. Total owed $23,500. "Can't you just sign it?" Another text. "I'm so stressed with the product launch." The product launch, where she'd play CEO in front of 200 investors who didn't know she'd never read a P&L statement, who didn't know the chief scientist did all the actual work while Emily took selfies in a lab coat she'd bought on Amazon. I opened my email. 3 messages from the landlord over the past month, all forwarded to spam by Emily's email filter I'd helped her set up. The subject lines grew increasingly urgent. Concerns about lease renewal. Urgent. Verification needed. Final notice. Guarantor confirmation required. The last one spelled it out clearly. Without renewed guarantee documentation by March 30th, the lease would terminate. 10 days from now. Emily had no idea. She'd been too busy posting inspirational quotes about female CEOs breaking barriers to check her spam folder. Another memory surfaced. Last month, Mom calling me selfish for not lending Emily money for a Cancun trip. "She works so hard as CEO. You sit at a desk, The least you could do is help your sister relax. I'd said no. Mom didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. But the lease, that was different. My name was legally bound to it, my credit on the line, my financial future tied to Emily's shopping addiction and Mom's enabling. Mr. Crawford's words echoed, the perfect venue for clarification. I texted Emily back. I'll handle it. OMG, thank you, you're the best, even if Mom thinks you're jealous of me. I set my phone down, opened the drawer, touched the envelope. Not yet, but soon, very soon. Have you ever been the invisible child in your own family? I know exactly how that feels, watching everyone celebrate someone else on your birthday while you're erased from the narrative. But sometimes, our silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. If this story is resonating with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that their time is coming. Drop a comment with the word justice if you want to know what happened when the truth finally came out. Now let me tell you about the moment I decided enough was enough. The Facebook comments kept coming. I watched them pile up under Mom's post, each one a small knife. I typed, "Happy birthday to me, I guess." Emily responded in seconds. OMG, Sarah, not everything is about you. Mom, Sarah, please don't make a scene. This was Emily's day. My day, my birthday, Emily's day. I typed back, it was literally my birthday yesterday. Mom, we forgot. We were busy planning something special for someone who deserved it. Deserved it. There it was. Public, permanent, screenshot worthy. Aunt Linda chimed in. Barbara's right. Emily's achievements deserve recognition. Emily. Sarah, maybe if you'd done something worth celebrating. I stared at the screen. My family, publicly discussing my worthlessness. 247 people watching. Former classmates, colleagues, my boss. I typed slowly, deliberately. You're right. Emily deserves exactly what's coming to her. Mom. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Enjoy the cake, while you can. Emily. Is that a threat? Mom, she's threatening me. Mom. Sarah, you're embarrassing yourself, as usual. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my contacts, scrolled to see Crawford James. His office would be closed, but he'd said to call any time, that the moment I was ready, he'd be waiting. The phone rang once. Miss Mitchell, I've been expecting your call. How did you... Your grandfather predicted this. He said you'd call when they finally pushed too far, when they finally made you realize what he always knew. Which was, that nice doesn't mean weak, that quiet doesn't mean powerless, and that patience is just choosing the perfect moment to strike. I looked at the Facebook thread, 312 comments now, my entire extended family and social circle witnessing my humiliation. The product launch, I said, March 27th. I'll have everything ready. Mr. Crawford, they just celebrated my sister on my birthday. By March 28th, Miss Mitchell, she'll remember your birthday for the rest of her life. Your grandfather knew this would happen, Crawford said. He documented everything, every conversation with your mother about the will, every time Emily asked about money, every single red flag. I pulled out the envelope, still sealed. He gave me this 3 years ago, said I'd know when to open it. That's a copy. I have the originals in my safe. Miss Mitchell, your grandfather's real will names you as sole beneficiary, not Emily, not your mother, you. The room spun. But Emily's been acting as CEO for 3 years. Illegally. The document she's been waving around? Forged. Your mother helped her. We have the security footage from the office building showing them entering my firm after hours. They used a master key your mother stole from your grandfather's desk. You've known for 3 years? Your grandfather's instructions were specific. Wait until you were ready, until you understood that being family doesn't mean accepting abuse, that love doesn't require you to light yourself on fire to keep others warm. I thought about the Hopkins scholarship, the Mercedes I'd never have, the birthday cake I'd never get. What do you need from me? Just show up to the product launch, sit in the audience. When Emily starts talking about her inheritance, about carrying on your grandfather's legacy, I'll handle the rest. And the lease? Crawford chuckled. I'd hold off on renewing that guarantee, Miss Mitchell. I hung up, opened my laptop, typed a single email to Emily's landlord. Please process all future correspondence regarding the lease directly with the tenant. I will not be renewing my guarantee and send. March 27th, the Ritz-Carlton, 200 investors about to witness history. Crawford had been meticulous. Wear something professional but understated. You want to look like what you are, the real CEO, not trying to prove anything. I chose my navy suit. The one from Nordstrom Rack, not Nordstrom. The one that fit perfectly because I'd had it tailored with my own money. Where will you be? I asked. I'll enter at exactly 11:47 a.m. Emily's presentation starts at 11:30. She'll be deep into her speech about inheriting grandfather's vision when I arrive. With the documents? With everything. The real will, the security footage, the forensic handwriting analysis that proves the forgery, the bank records showing the embezzlement. I thought about Emily's LinkedIn posts, her Instagram stories from the company offices, the interviews she'd given about being a young female CEO breaking barriers. She's going to be destroyed, I said. She destroyed herself the moment she forged those documents. You're just revealing the truth. And Mom? Accessory to fraud. The DA's office is already interested. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just clarity. Mr. Crawford, why did grandfather wait? Why not just make it clear in the will? He did make it clear, but he knew your mother would try something, so he set a trap. Let them commit the crime, document everything, then let you decide when to spring it. 12 days, I said. In 12 days, everything changes. No, Miss Mitchell, everything changes the moment you walk into that ballroom. Everything else is just paperwork. The memory hit me as I held the envelope. Grandpa's hands, still steady despite the cancer, guiding mine to his desk drawer that day. Sarah, there's something else. He'd pulled out a second document. This is a copy of my real will, the one filed with Crawford. Your mother doesn't know this version exists. Why are you telling me this? Because she's been pressuring me to change it. Wants everything to go to Emily. Says you're too simple to handle the responsibility. Simple. Another variation of practical. But here's what your mother doesn't understand, he continued. I built this company by watching, observing. You know who else watches? You. You see everything, don't you? I nodded. Emily performed for me today, talked about her vision for the company, used words she'd Googled 5 minutes before. But you've never asked me for anything, never performed, never pretended to care about the money. He'd opened another drawer. Inside were files. Years of them. Your supply chain optimization thesis from Wharton. I read it. Implemented 2 of your strategies at Mitchell. Saved us $1.8 million last year alone. My breath caught. How did you? I've been watching Sarah. The quiet one. The practical one. The one who gave up Hopkins so Emily wouldn't feel inferior. You knew? I know everything, including what your mother and sister are planning. They think I'm too sick to notice them sneaking into my office, photographing documents, practicing my signature. He'd smiled then. A wolf smile. So I'm going to let them do it. Let them forge whatever they want after I'm gone. Let them think they've won. And then, when you're ready, Crawford will reveal everything. Grandpa, I don't want... You don't want revenge. I know. This isn't revenge, Sarah. It's justice. There's a difference. Now, 3 years later, I finally understood what he meant. Revenge would be destroying them because they hurt me. Justice was simply revealing the truth they'd worked so hard to hide. Crawford's office smelled like old leather and justice. He spread the documents across his mahogany desk, like a dealer showing his cards. This is my favorite part, he said, pointing to a clause in the trust fund documentation. Article 7, Section 3. Your grandfather called it the integrity clause. I read it twice, then a third time. Any beneficiary found guilty of fraud, forgery, or fiduciary misconduct forfeits all claims to the estate, with assets transferring immediately to the contingent beneficiary. That's you. You're the contingent beneficiary. Your grandfather structured it perfectly. Even if Emily had been the legitimate heir, the moment she committed fraud, she lost everything. She doesn't know this exists? Nobody does. It's filed separately from the will, in a trust your grandfather established in Delaware. Completely legal, completely binding, and completely invisible until activated. I picked up another document. Bank statements. Mitchell Pharmaceuticals accounts over the past 3 years. Dozens of transfers to EMI Holdings LLC, Emily's company. She's stolen over $2 million, Crawford said. Small amounts at first, testing the waters, then bigger. The Cancun trip your mother mentioned? Paid for by the company. The Mercedes payments? Company funds. That penthouse? She tried to list it as a corporate apartment. But the board? What board? Emily dissolved it 6 months after your grandfather died. Said it was streamlining operations. Really, she just didn't want oversight. Crawford pulled out his phone, showed me an email thread. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division has been building a case. They were waiting for my signal. Which is? The moment Emily claims publicly to be the legitimate CEO, at the product launch, in front of 200 witnesses on livestream. I thought about Emily's Instagram story this morning. Big announcement coming at the launch. #CEO life #legacy. She's walking into a trap, I said. No, Crawford corrected. She built the trap, decorated it, invited everyone to watch. All we're doing is letting her step in it. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom glittered with pharmaceutical money. I counted 17 reporters, 3 news cameras, and at least 200 investors sipping champagne that cost more than my monthly groceries. Emily stood at the registration table in a $3,000 dress, greeting guests like royalty. Mom flanked her, wearing diamonds I recognized. Grandma's diamonds, supposedly left to both granddaughters, but somehow only ever worn by one bloodline. Sarah? Emily's voice dripped surprise and disdain. What are you doing here? I work in supply chain. Thought I should understand our product pipeline. Our? She laughed. That tinkling, practiced laugh she'd perfected at Cotillion. This is a C-suite event. You're not even management. Mom stepped forward. Sarah, don't embarrass us. Not today. Wouldn't dream of it. Emily leaned in close. I know you're bitter about the birthday thing, but this is my moment. I'm announcing the new anxiety medication and our IPO plans. Investors need to see strong leadership, not. She gestured at my Nordstrom Rack suit. Whatever this is. You're right, I said. They deserve to see strong leadership. She missed the irony. Of course she did. There's assigned seating, Mom added. You're in the back, if you're staying. Table 27, the server's station. I'd been placed with the catering staff. Perfect, I said. I like watching from the shadows. Emily was already moving on, air-kissing a venture capitalist who'd been trying to buy Mitchell Pharmaceuticals for 2 years. She had no idea he'd been talking to Crawford for the past week. I took my seat, pulled out my phone. One text from Crawford. 11:47, 15 minutes until showtime. Emily took the stage to thunderous applause. Behind her, a massive screen displayed. Emily Mitchell, CEO, Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, continuing a legacy. I smiled. Continued counting. 14 minutes. Before we discuss our groundbreaking anxiety medication, Emily purred into the microphone, I want to introduce someone special. My stomach dropped. My sister Sarah is here today. Sarah, stand up. 200 faces turned. The spotlight found me at table 27, surrounded by water pitchers and folded napkins. Sarah works in, what is it again, boxes? Emily's laugh tinkled. She's our little worker bee. So proud of her for finding her level. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Mom stood beside Emily. We believe in family at Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, even family members who choose simpler paths. Sarah didn't have the ambition for medical school, but she tries her best. Actually, a voice called out, isn't she the one who wrote that brilliant supply chain optimization paper? I remember it from the Wharton Journal. David Chen, venture capitalist. Wharton alum. Emily's smile tightened. I'm not familiar with that. Really? David persisted. It revolutionized pharmaceutical distribution. We implemented her model at 3 companies, saved millions. Mom grabbed the microphone. Well, Emily's the CEO. She oversees all operations, including whatever little projects Sarah dabbles in. Little projects? David stood now. Your daughter's algorithm is being studied at Harvard Business School. Emily's face flushed. This is my presentation about my grandfather's legacy. Our grandfather, I said quietly, but the microphone picked it up. Yes, well, Emily snapped, he chose his successor wisely. Someone with vision, medical training, not someone who counts boxes. Mom nodded approvingly. Emily represents everything Robert Mitchell wanted for this company. She inherited his brilliance, his drive, his... The ballroom doors opened. I checked my phone. 11:47 exactly. James Crawford walked in, flanked by 2 associates carrying bankers' boxes. Emily's hand gripped the podium. We're in the middle of... I apologize for the interruption, Crawford said, his voice carrying to every corner. But there's been a development regarding the leadership of Mitchell Pharmaceuticals. Emily's knuckles went white against the podium. Security. That won't be necessary, Crawford said, approaching the stage with measured steps. I'm James Crawford, personal attorney to Robert Mitchell. I have documents that require immediate attention. Mom rushed to the microphone. This is highly inappropriate. Emily is the rightful CEO. Is she? Crawford's voice cut through the room like a scalpel. Because I have here the actual last will and testament of Robert Mitchell, not the forgery Ms. Emily Mitchell has been presenting. The word forgery hit the room like a bomb. Phones appeared, recording. The news cameras swiveled. Emily laughed, high and sharp. This is ridiculous. I have the will, filed with the court, notarized. Notarized by a notary whose license expired 2 years before the document was allegedly signed, Crawford said. Interesting oversight. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Investors exchanged glances. Furthermore, Crawford continued, approaching the stage, I have security footage from my office building showing Ms. Emily Mitchell and Mrs. Barbara Mitchell entering after hours with a stolen key. Timestamp, 3 days after Robert Mitchell's death. Mom's face drained of color. You can't prove... I also have forensic handwriting analysis confirming the signature on your document is forged. The real will, properly executed and witnessed, tells a very different story. Emily gripped the microphone. Even if, which is absurd, but even if there were irregularities, I've been running this company successfully for 3 years. Have you? Crawford smiled. Would you like to discuss the $2 million transferred to your personal LLC? Or should we talk about dissolving the board of directors without shareholder consent? The venture capitalists were standing now, one headed for the exit. Wait, Emily called out. This is Sarah's doing. She's always been jealous. Every eye turned to me. I stood slowly. I know many of you are thinking, why didn't Sarah speak up sooner? Trust me, sometimes waiting for the perfect moment is the best strategy. When you've been silenced your whole life, your voice becomes more powerful when you finally use it. If you've ever had to stand up to family members who tried to erase you, type strength in the comments. I see you, and you're not alone. And please, if this story is resonating with you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Now, let me tell you about the moment everything changed. Crawford reached the stage, his presence commanding absolute attention. 2 associates flanked him, one carrying a laptop, the other holding sealed documents. "Ladies and gentlemen," he addressed the crowd, not Emily. "I apologize for this disruption, but fraud of this magnitude cannot go unaddressed." "You have no authority here," Emily shrieked. "Actually, I do." Crawford produced a document. "This is an emergency injunction from the Delaware Court of Chancery, issued this morning, freezing all Mitchell Pharmaceuticals operations pending investigation of the CEO's legitimacy." Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Two investors were already on their phones with legal teams. "Additionally," Crawford continued, "I represent the true heir to Robert Mitchell's estate." Mom laughed bitterly. "Emily is his granddaughter. So is Sarah." The room fell silent. Crawford turned to me. "Miss Mitchell, would you please join us on stage?" I walked through the ballroom, past the investors I'd served coffee to at conferences where Emily took credit for my work, past the reporters who'd written puff pieces about the young female CEO, past my mother, whose face cycled through confusion, rage, and fear. I took the stage, faced the audience, spoke clearly. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm Robert Mitchell's granddaughter, and I've been silent for too long." Emily lunged for me, but Crawford stepped between us. "3 years ago," I continued, "my grandfather gave me documents for safekeeping. He knew what would happen after his death. He knew who would try to steal his legacy." "Liar!" Emily screamed. Crawford opened his briefcase. "Shall we examine the evidence? Or would you prefer to discuss the FBI investigation into your embezzlement?" Emily's face went white. Mom sank into a chair. The truth was finally coming out. Crawford connected his laptop to the presentation screen. Emily's "Continuing a Legacy" slide disappeared, replaced by a document that made the room gasp. "Last will and testament of Robert James Mitchell," Crawford read aloud. "Executed January 15th, 2021, 6 weeks before his death." The document filled the screen. Grandpa's real signature, 3 witnesses, a notary seal with a valid, verifiable number. "I leave the entirety of Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, all associated assets, and my personal estate to my granddaughter, Sarah Marie Mitchell." The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Emily grabbed the microphone. "That's fake! I have the real will!" Crawford clicked to the next slide. Security footage, crystal clear. Emily and Mom breaking into his office, photographing documents, practicing signatures on legal pads. Timestamp, February 28, 2021, 3 days after Robert Mitchell's death. Then came the forensic analysis, the forged signature overlay, the expired notary license, the fraudulent board dissolution, each slide more damning than the last. "Furthermore," Crawford announced, "Ms. Emily Mitchell has embezzled $2.3 million from company accounts." Bank statements filled the screen. Transfer after transfer to EMI Holdings LLC, the Cancun trips, the shopping sprees, the penthouse payments. Emily turned to me, tears streaming. "Sarah, please, we're sisters." "Yes," I said, taking the microphone. "We are, which makes this hurt even more." I faced the audience. "For 28 years, I've been told I wasn't enough. Not smart enough, not ambitious enough, not worthy enough. My family threw a party on my birthday, for my sister, because I wasn't worth celebrating." The room was silent. But my grandfather saw me. He saw what I could do, what I could become, and he made his choice. Crawford handed me the original will. "According to Robert Mitchell's wishes, Sarah Mitchell is the rightful CEO of Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, effective immediately." I stood at the podium where Emily had been moments before. The Mitchell Pharmaceuticals logo glowed behind me, my grandfather's legacy, now mine to protect. "Mr. Crawford," I said calmly, "please proceed with the necessary documentation." He produced a folder. "This is the board reinstatement order. Per the original bylaws, the illegally dissolved board is hereby restored." 5 board members in the audience stood. They'd been waiting. Crawford had contacted them weeks ago. "We recognize Sarah Mitchell as the legitimate CEO," the chairman announced. "All actions taken by Emily Mitchell are void." Emily collapsed into a chair. You can't do this. It's already done, Crawford said. He turned to his associate. Please notify the FBI that Ms. Emily Mitchell is present and available for questioning. The FBI? Mom stood, shaking. Emily, what did you do? What she's always done, I said. Took what wasn't hers. Except this time, it's federal wire fraud. The venture capitalist, David Chen, approached the stage. Ms. Mitchell, Sarah, I've reviewed your supply chain optimization model. Would you consider a partnership? My firm has been trying to acquire Mitchell Pharmaceuticals, but perhaps investment would be better. We can discuss that, I said. After we've cleaned house. Security arrived, not for Crawford, but for Emily. 2 FBI agents followed them in. Emily Mitchell? One said. We need to ask you about some financial transactions. She looked at me desperately. Sarah, please, tell them it's a mistake. I can't lie to federal agents, I said. That would be illegal. Mom rushed to Emily. Don't say anything. We'll get lawyers. With what money? I asked. The funds you helped her steal? Those accounts are frozen. The truth was sinking in. The golden child was tarnished. The forgotten daughter held all the cards. And we were just getting started. I pulled out my phone, connected it to Crawford's laptop. The lease guarantee appeared on screen. Before we adjourn, I announced, there's one more matter. Emily's penthouse lease. $8,000 a month, my name as guarantor. As of today, I'm withdrawing my financial guarantee for Emily Mitchell's residence, effective immediately. You can't! Emily broke free from the agents. I'll be evicted. You should have thought of that before stealing $2 million. Crawford produced another document. This is particularly interesting. Ms. Emily listed the penthouse as a corporate apartment on tax filings. That's tax fraud. The FBI agent took notes. We'll add that to the charges. I signed the withdrawal letter. Crawford notarized it. His associate photographed it and emailed it directly to the property management company. Done, I said. My phone buzzed. The landlord had already received it. His response was immediate. Tenant has 72 hours to vacate or provide alternate guarantee. Emily's phone rang. She answered on speaker by accident. Ms. Mitchell, this is Peninsula Properties. We've received notice that your guarantor has withdrawn. You have 72 hours to... She hung up, turned to Mom. Do something. Mom looked at me. Sarah, she's your sister. Yes, I said, and for 28 years, that meant I had to sacrifice everything for her. My dreams, my celebrations, my self-worth. That ends today. The board chairman approached. Ms. Mitchell, we'll need to schedule an emergency meeting. The IPO roadshow starts next week. Cancel it, I said. We're restructuring, starting with a full audit. That could take months. Then it takes months. We do this right, or we don't do it at all. David Chen smiled. That's exactly what your grandfather would have said. Emily was being escorted out now, Mom trailing behind, begging the agents to wait, to let her call someone, anyone. The ballroom was buzzing, reporters shouting questions, investors recalculating, the pharmaceutical world shifting on its axis. I stood at the podium, my grandfather's company, my company, spread before me. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, Mitchell Pharmaceuticals is under new management. We'll be in touch. The boardroom felt different with the right person in the CEO chair. I sat where Grandpa once sat, reviewing the real numbers for the first time. The damage is worse than we thought, the CFO said. Emily approved bonuses for herself totaling $3 million, all illegal. Claw them back, I said. Every penny. That could take years of litigation. Then it takes years. I turned to the chief scientist. Tell me about this anxiety medication. He shifted uncomfortably. It's not ready. Emily rushed the announcement. We're at least 18 months from phase 3 trials. Then we wait 18 months. But she promised investors. She lied to investors. I won't. David Chen, now officially an advisor, leaned forward. Your honesty will cost short-term stock value. And build long-term trust, I countered. My grandfather spent 40 years building this company's reputation. I won't let 3 years of fraud destroy it. My phone buzzed. Emily, from a number I didn't recognize. The FBI took my phone. I'm at Monica's. Sarah, please, I need help. I deleted it. Crawford entered. The forensic accountants found more. Emily set up 12 shell companies. The total theft exceeds 5 million. Prison time? I asked. 5 to 10 years, minimum. The board members exchanged glances. This was their first real meeting in 3 years. We owe you an apology, the chairman said. We should have fought the dissolution. She threatened you with lawsuits, I said. I read the emails. You were protecting your families. Your grandfather would be proud, he said. You have his strategic mind. And his patience, Crawford added. He always said the best revenge is a life well lived. This isn't revenge, I corrected. It's justice. My assistant knocked. Ms. Mitchell, there's a delivery. A cake, 3 tiers, fondant roses, gold leaf. Exactly like the one from my stolen birthday. The card read, Happy belated birthday, from your real family, the board. For the first time in 3 days, I smiled. Thank you, I said. But next year, chocolate. I never liked vanilla. They laughed, real laughter. Not the nervous kind Emily commanded. This was what leadership felt like. The video went viral within hours. Fake CEO, sister exposed at launch event. 3 million views. The comments section was brutal. The entitlement is insane. Imagine stealing from your own grandfather's company. That poor sister, 28 years of this. Emily's Instagram, once 50K followers, strong, hemorrhaged subscribers. Her CEO life highlights became evidence. Every luxury purchase, every vacation, every champagne toast, paid for with stolen money. The medical community reacted swiftly. The residency program director called me personally. We're reviewing her position, he said. Moral turpitude clauses exist for a reason. That's between you and her, I said. I'm focused on fixing my company. But the consequences cascaded. Emily's penthouse was gone. She'd lasted exactly 36 hours before the sheriff arrived. Monica kicked her out after Emily couldn't pay for groceries. The Mercedes? Repossessed when the investigation revealed it was purchased with embezzled funds. Mom called from her lawyer's office. They're charging me as an accomplice. You were an accomplice, I said. Sarah, I'm your mother. Yes, and you chose to help Emily steal my inheritance. You chose to humiliate me publicly. You chose this. Where's your compassion? Where was yours on my birthday? She hung up. The dominoes kept falling. Emily's medical school loans came due. The company had been paying them illegally. Her credit cards, all guaranteed by the company, were canceled. The IRS launched an audit. Local news picked up the story. Pharmaceutical heiress falls from grace. They used her LinkedIn photo, the one where she posed in Grandpa's office, feet on his desk, caption, built for this. The medical board received 17 complaints about her ethics. Former nurses came forward about her taking credit for their work. By week's end, Emily Mitchell went from CEO, doctor, heiress, to unemployed, under investigation, and living in her car. Mom's arrest made the evening news. Local woman charged in $5 million pharmaceutical fraud. The footage showed her in handcuffs, designer purse falling to the ground. The prosecutor called me. She's claiming you manipulated your grandfather. Check his medical records, I said. Full mental capacity until the end. 3 separate neurological evaluations. She also says you promised to take care of your sister. I did take care of her. For 28 years, I'm done. Mom's bail was set at $500,000. She called from jail. Sarah, please, I need bail money. Ask Emily. She has nothing. You took everything. I took nothing. I received what was legally mine. What you tried to steal. I'm your mother. You were supposed to be. Mothers don't forget their daughter's birthday. Mothers don't publicly humiliate their children. Mothers don't help one child steal from another. I was protecting Emily. She needed it more. There it was, the truth. Why? I asked. Why did she need it more? Silence. Then, quietly. She was planned. You weren't. 28 years of feeling less than, explained in 2 words. Thank you, I said, for finally being honest. Sarah, I hung up. Crawford texted. Your mother's lawyer called. She wants a plea deal. Whatever the prosecutor thinks is fair, I replied. Mom pled guilty 2 weeks later. 3 years probation, $50,000 in fines, 200 hours of community service. The judge called her betrayal of family trust particularly heinous. The courtroom sketch artist captured her perfectly, small, diminished, alone. The medical community's response was swift and merciless. The residency program's decision came through official channels. Emily Mitchell has been terminated effective immediately for violations of professional ethics standards. Her former colleagues distanced themselves overnight. The group chat she'd created, Future Medical Leaders, removed her. Her research supervisor retracted his recommendation letters. The Medical School Alumni Association revoked her membership. Dr. Harrison, the program director, called me personally. I wanted you to know, we've had concerns about Emily's ethics for months. Nurses complained about her taking credit. This situation simply confirmed what we suspected. Karma works in mysterious ways, I said, echoing what I'd heard at the launch. Social media became her judge and jury. Someone created a meme. Emily's LinkedIn built for this photo next to her mugshot. It went viral. Hashtag built for prison trended for 3 days. Her former friends posted their own stories. She borrowed $5,000 for emergencies and went to Cabo. She diagnosed my anxiety wrong and laughed about it later. She cheated through med school. We all knew. The pharmaceutical world blacklisted her. Every company in the industry received the news. No one would touch her. A reporter interviewed former Mitchell Pharmaceuticals employees. Their stories were damning. She'd schedule meetings just to cancel them, to show power. She fired a janitor for using the executive elevator. She took credit for everything, blamed others for any failure. The collective sigh of relief was audible. The Empress had no clothes, and everyone finally felt free to say it. Justice, served cold and professionally. 6 months later, Mitchell Pharmaceuticals was thriving. Stock up 30%, employee satisfaction at an all-time high. The real anxiety medication entered Phase 2 trials, properly, ethically, successfully. Emily wrote from federal prison. She'd been sentenced to 7 years, eligible for parole in 4. Sarah, I know you hate me, but I'm still your sister. Can you put money in my commissary? Just $50? I wrote back once. Emily, I don't hate you. Hate requires energy I won't waste on you. You're experiencing consequences, not cruelty. Every hardship you face, you created. I wish you healing and growth, but I won't enable you anymore. This is goodbye. Mom, serving house arrest after her plea deal, sent messages through relatives. She's sorry. She's in therapy. She wants to reconcile. I responded with a family-wide email. I appreciate everyone's concern. However, reconciliation requires acknowledgement of harm, genuine remorse, and changed behavior. I've seen none of these. I'm building a life of peace and purpose. Anyone who respects that is welcome in it. Anyone who doesn't isn't. This boundary is non-negotiable. The flying monkeys stopped flying. At the company, I implemented what I called Grandpa's rules. Merit over nepotism. Transparency over secrets. Earned respect over demanded loyalty. Employees who'd suffered under Emily's reign flourished. The janitor she'd humiliated? I promoted him to facilities manager. The nurses whose work she'd stolen? I created a medical advisory board with their input. David Chen's investment fund partnered with us. Your integrity is worth more than any quick profit, he said. The company holiday party, my first as CEO, was different. No forced speeches about family legacy. No power plays. Just genuine celebration of genuine achievement. Someone had hung Grandpa's portrait in the lobby. Beneath it, a new plaque. Success is built on truth, sustained by integrity, and measured by the good we do. Robert Mitchell. I stood before it after everyone left, finally understanding what he'd seen in the quiet, practical granddaughter. Thank you, I whispered, for seeing me when no one else did. The building was silent, but somehow I felt him smiling. A year later, on my 29th birthday, I celebrated properly. Not with family who'd forgotten me, but with chosen family who saw me. The board, Crawford, David, employees who'd become friends. There was cake, chocolate, as requested. There were no comparisons, no backhanded compliments, no reminders of what I wasn't. Just joy for who I was. Emily would be in prison for 6 more years. Mom lived alone, her society friends gone, her reputation destroyed. The family that had celebrated the only daughter worth honoring had discovered the cost of dishonor. But this isn't a story about revenge. It's about recognition. Sometimes, the greatest justice isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something beautiful from the ashes they left behind. My grandfather knew I wouldn't seek vengeance. He knew I'd seek truth. There's a difference between being cruel and being clear, between revenge and consequences, between destroying someone and refusing to save them from themselves. Every birthday now, I remember that Facebook post. The only one who deserves celebrating. They were right in a way, just wrong about which daughter. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes the best response to "you're not worth it" is proving quietly and completely that you always were. If you've made it this far, you understand that family isn't always blood. It's the people who see your worth when others don't. What boundaries do you need to set with toxic family members? Comment "forgive" if you believe in second chances, or boundaries if you think some bridges should stay burned. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear that their time is coming. Subscribe for more stories about justice, dignity, and finding your power in the most unexpected moments. Remember, you don't need their validation. You never did. Thank you for listening to my story.